Sean Kingston has really become one of the biggest scammers in music, and I mean, I'm not lying. Just a few months ago, him and his own mom was indicted in a $1 million fraud scheme. See, Sean Kingston is somebody who really been around for a minute, almost 20 years at this point. But even from the start of his career, from the first few years of him getting money, he was still facing legal issues. Fast forward to around 2012, 2013, he was in the news for something you wouldn't want to hear. The man was getting sued by his landlord. Like I said, he had been getting money for a minute and he wanted to spend that money. So he decided to move into this big mansion, but he didn't buy it. He was renting it. He was renting this mansion for $25,000 a month. And a normal person, if you was to rent out a mansion, you probably want to take care of it because, you know, everything in here is expensive. Not Sean Kingston. He didn't care about this mansion. This landlord was saying that Sean Kingston trashed the place. He was paying 25 racks a month to trash the place. And then he skipped out on the $70,000 bill that he was owed. Basically, the landlord was saying that Sean Kingston and his mom really tore the house apart. They said it was broken landscaping lights, sprinkler heads, holes in the wall, broken rails. The landlord was saying they tore that house up and she wanted her $70,000 back. And it was a legal battle for a little bit, but Sean was determined to be in the wrong. Courts made him pay up $77,000. And this was back in 2012. But not only was he facing money problems, he was also a nuisance. I'm not even gonna lie. He was in controversy for things you would think a 16-year-old would get into. Granted, he was 23 around that 2012, 2013 time, but I'm 21 and I don't act like that. I don't do none of that he was doing. Point is, he was being a little stupid. He had all this money and he had that ego. So after what he did to the mansion, not take care of it, holes in the wall, all of that, he starts getting into it with the law. The man was reckless. He was drunk driving, texting while driving, getting constant tickets, acting crazy. He was tripping back during them 2012, 2013 years. An article from 2013 wrote this on the situation. Sean Kingston could have killed somebody last night because he got behind the wheel of his Lamborghini after boozing, pulled out his phone to text, and then tore down the Sun Street Strip at breakneck speeds. The 23-year-old hip-hop star was leaving this nightclub, and when we asked him an easy question about his favorite lyric on 2 Chainz's new album, Sean's response is, "I can't even remember. Too many drinks." They said that Sean then got into the driver's seat of the car, started pulling out his phone, playing on it, slammed on the gas, rolling down the street. The article said it's unclear if Sean Kingston was drinking about the joking, but it wouldn't be the first time he's tried to drive on alcohol. Back in June, Sean got out of his driver's seat of his Bentley when he realized he was too drunk to drive. This time, however, there was no such moment of clarity as he continued to get behind the wheel after drinking. It'll only be a matter of time before someone pays the price for Sean's stupidity. But it was like every time he was in the news for legal problems or money problems, it would just get worse and worse and worse. And in 2013, he would get in an insane lawsuit that you wouldn't really want to see nobody in. Sean Kingston got put into a gang blank lawsuit. Now, I can't say what it was, but you get what I'm saying. It was a gang lawsuit. So back in 2010, 3 years before the lawsuit I'm speaking on right now, a woman came out named Carissa, and she was claiming that back in July 2010, she had got real drunk and high one night and claims that Sean, his bodyguard, and a member of his band allegedly ganged her. And there's articles online going into real deep detail about what allegedly happened that night. I'm not gonna go into detail on all of that in this video, but you can look it up if you want to. And this was back in 2010. And when she tried to put these criminal charges on Sean, it didn't really go in her favor. Charges against Sean back in 2010 ended up getting dropped because the cops said that she wasn't a credible source. She didn't have a legit enough case. So the cops dropped it, and then we had Sean Kingston saying that it was consensual. But in 2013, the case would get sparked back up, but this time she was trying to get $5 million out of the man. She was fighting this case against Sean, trying to get something. We had Sean Kingston constantly claiming his innocence, and then we had her saying that he did what he allegedly did. The case would finally settle, and Sean was still claiming his innocence, but something got paid out. Hot New Hip Hop wrote this. It should be noted that Kingston's settlement is not an admission to guilt. He has maintained his innocence and is very confident that the case will go to trial. A source close to Kingston has also dismissed the claims. They went on to say this: her story wasn't consistent. She told various stories throughout her interviews with the police. Her friend's story wasn't consistent with hers. The medical report had no indications of force. Sean had confirmed that he and the woman did do something back in 2020, but maintains that the affair was consensual. Reports indicate that the settlement was a fraction of what the alleged victim was originally asking for, so a fraction of $5 million. So Sean Kingston's career was looking real crazy, and it got even crazier with legal and money problems. The early 2010s will really show the world what else there was to come for him. Now, I can't go into every single detail on every single money situation, but he was in a lot. He was in so many different situations with this person or this artist or this company. I kind of can't put it all into one video or this is going to be an hour long, but I can talk about the ones that I feel like are more important. Like in 2014, for example, when he got two of his cars repoed in the same week. This man, Sean, had his G-Wagon repoed because he was 3 months behind on payments, and he had his Bentley repoed. Then, right, few months after both of these cars got repoed, he got into it with some jewelers. He fell into a trap that every other rapper falls into, the jewelry trap. Oh, I want to look fashy. I want to show people that I got money, so I'm going to spend all of my money on jewelry. I'm going to go spend $100K on a chain, $100K on a watch, $200K on some grills. You know how niggas get. You know how people get with their money. Now look, that ain't my business. Buying the chains, but a lot of these rappers be overdoing it, trying to look good for some niggas. All of this to say, Sean finessed over $266,000 worth of jewelry. Between 2008 to 2013, that man just was getting loose on niggas. He wasn't passing up no bread. And it was getting so bad that ended up going to court, and an article wrote this on the situation. When Sean Kingston started to get caught up over all of this money, he had his reps telling people that the money was ready to pay, but that money never got paid. So he had his reps saying, yeah, money on the way. No money ever came. So it got sent to court, and the judge issued a default judgment of $365,000. But Sean was trying to say that y'all niggas is tripping. This jewelry really not worth this much. Okay, some of the jewelry might be real, but Sean was saying that y'all might be overpricing this because a lot of this was fake and it ain't real. According to the lawsuit filed in New York, Sean Kingston got more than $200,000 worth of ice from Avi the jeweler from 2008 to 2013, but never paid for any of it. In the suit, Avi says Kingston wrote checks 7 different times over the years and they all bounced. Avi claims the orders throughout the years included watches and chains, 2 of them featuring Kingston's initials, a diamond Jesus piece, a belly button chain, we're guessing it's not for him, and a cubic zirconia necklace and bracelet, which is fake diamonds if you don't know. A rep for Kingston tells TMZ, Mr. Kingston has paid Avi the jeweler well over $300,000 for the jewelry that was appraised at a far less value than that and has the cash checks to prove it. Additionally, no one would continue to supply jewelry to another individual for 5 years without receiving payment. Mr. Kingston fully intends to fight this lawsuit in the law court. And I mean, that is a decent point. If you was a jeweler and you seen that this one specific man was never paying you, why would you keep giving him jewelry? That's a pretty valid stance. It's a logical question to ask. But this situation ain't end well for Sean. Not even legally speaking. This shit turned to the streets. So the jeweler, Avi or Avion Jewelers, was claiming that Sean still never paid that money up, and he was still trying to get more jewelry. Sean ended up trying to work with him again and wanted this watch. Sean was like, I get y'all $185,000 for this watch, but I don't want to pay the rest. I don't want to pay the full $225K. Sean Kingston was claiming that the watch wasn't worth all that. He'll give him the $185 and that's it. No more, no higher. And so after not paying the remainder, the company allegedly agreed to exchange it for another piece. And so Sean did that. But he also did some bot shit. He planned this arrangement, this little jewelry trade, but he didn't put no thought into it. See, a normal person would have seen this, especially somebody in the music industry and how shady it is, and would have been like, hell no, I'm not doing this. But Sean did it anyway. Sean and his jeweler said they were gonna meet up at 1:50 a.m. to make a trade worth hundreds of thousands. And this would allegedly happen that night. Sean got in his car and claims his watch was snatched from him and that the company's associates refused to give him another watch. And so Sean was saying when they took the watch from him, he started crashing out. He started getting mad like, bro, and y'all ain't about to take my watch, right? But he was outnumbered. He's in their territory. He's in the car with them niggas. He ain't the driver. He ain't got no security with him. And this is what happens. He claims that allegedly after they got to this whole argument, they locked him in the car, pulled out a gun on him, and threw him in a secluded area. He was thrown out of the car and they left him. And the next day, After it happened, Sean got on Twitter mad as hell. Never trust Avion Jewelers, period. Shady business. God never misses anything, so it will leave this in his hands. But just know karma. Love all the fans, I'm okay and safe. Just hurt to work so hard for something and have someone thinking they could just take it from you. Shaking my head. And after this situation happened, Sean tried to go the legal route, but it ain't turned out right for him. Overall, this situation could have been completely avoided if he would have put a little bit more thought into the situation. And I mean, this situation was so dumb, the cops called it dumb. The cops was like, why would you even do this? Why would you go and try to make a deal worth hundreds of thousands at 1:50 a.m. So they turned it into a civil lawsuit. One article on the situation wrote this. Sean Kingston claims that he was kidnapped and a jewelry dispute had fallen on deaf ears because the LAPD is chalking it up to a simple business disagreement. Law enforcement sources tell us Kingston's story just doesn't ring true, that he met a jeweler in downtown LA in the middle of the night to settle a dispute over a $185,000 watch. Kingston claims that the jeweler and his goons took the watch, locked him in the car at gunpoint, and drove off, eventually dumping him in the street. Our sources say the story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would Sean be making deals in the middle of the night in a desolate area? It seems unclear, so cops are calling it a civil business dispute. And over these next few years, he would keep getting into more and more problems. So many problems of him not paying people or him embarrassing himself. I know you remember the whole drink man please thing. The man was a drug addict. He wanted some lean. He hits the plug up, start begging the nigga. He talking about drink man please. I just need a line. I see the messages. But Sean Kingston's life would really be done in 2024. This is a man who has over a dozen years of scamming people and playing with people's money and not paying for this or not paying for that. So in this brand new case where him and his own mama got booked on some fraud charges, it really wasn't a surprise to nobody. Back in May 2024, Sean Kingston's mansion was raided by the Broward Sheriff's Office. They came through and they hit him bad. And they was trying to get him and his mama on multiple charges. TMZ wrote this. The Broward Sheriff's Office raided Kingston's residence in Southwest Ranches, Florida, Thursday morning. We told his mama was arrested at the house during the raid and is facing multiple charges, including fraud and theft. Sean wasn't at home at the time. Actually, Sean was on the other side of the country and he got arrested in LA the same time his house got raided. Well, it wasn't LA, but it was an area in California. He was in Cali when the raid happened at his house. The article went on to write, law enforcement tells TMZ Sean himself is also a target in the investigation, although our sources would not say what he allegedly did to trigger the investigation. We do know, however, Sean was sued back in February for allegedly not paying for a $150,000 entertainment system. And the lawyer, Dennis Card, repping the company that sued him, was present during today's raid. And so Sean Kingston's house got raided and people was wondering what was coming next, because after it happened, him and his mom both went to jail and they ended up getting bond even though they were facing a good bit of charges. According to the court documents, the 61-year-old, his mom, is facing 8 charges, including conducting an organized scheme to defraud, grand theft, and identity theft. After hearing her bail Friday, she posted a $160,000 bond to secure her release. They was both facing these charges and even facing charges for dumb shit. One charge that Sean faced was grand theft for an $86,000 custom bed. And it was a lot more dumb shit that they was accused of stealing. And it doesn't make sense. If you gonna steal, why not steal something useful? What is you stealing furniture for and beds and speakers? I don't understand the concept. That's why I started this chapter as, is he a klepto? Because there's no other reason why you would be stealing this if you didn't think it was fun. He might like stealing. And I mean, they was facing $1 million in fraud charges. XXL wrote this. In Broward County Sheriff's jail documents obtained by XXL, Kingston's 61-year-old mother was hit with a slew of charges, including the ones I read earlier. According to WSVN 7 News, Miami News, the arrest warrants alleged that the pair stole nearly $500,000 worth of jewelry between October and March. Additionally, they are accused of stealing over $200,000 from Bank of America, a $160,000 Cadillac Escape, from a car dealership and more than $100,000 from First Republic Bank and stealing $86,000 from a custom bed manufacturer, as well as fraudulent use of another person's identity. I'm not gonna lie, at this point, they really need to start banning this nigga from buying jewelry, because how for the last 15, 16 years, your ass been stealing jewelry? You've been stealing jewelry since 2008. Why are jewelers still selling to this man? What the thought process is? That's why I said people wasn't surprised when he got booked, because nigga, you been stealing your whole life. Anyways, Sean Kingston lures people using his celebrity image into having them release things to him without paying for it and simply never paying for it, a deputy told the news channel. It's basically Sean's thing to steal or do some fraud, which is a crazy concept, because even at his highest heights, when he was making the most money in his life, he was even stealing back then. 2010s, he was stealing. He was making hella money back then. Look, I don't know what's up with him and stealing, but this lawsuit still isn't over. And I mean, this is something that's gonna take a little minute to really play out. With the amount of money and the stuff they pull and the things they stole, we gotta see what happens with this case. But there was an update even after they got arrested. Back in August, they appeared in front of a federal judge and they both pled not guilty. WSV and Miami News wrote this. Rapper Sean Kingston and his mom both pled not guilty on Monday to charges of defrauding multiple businesses for over $1 million. Kingston and his mother entered a pleas agreement hearing before a Broward Circuit judge. And at this court date, they basically went through all of the charges that I already read to you, but this where it gets interesting. This article from Miami News also wrote this. There is a state investigation for similar charges pertaining to grand theft and fraud. The person who was representing Kingston in both cases explained to Kingston and shared concerns about a double jeopardy. They're not exactly the same, because federal court is a wire fraud. State court is basically a grand theft, but the wire fraud led to grand theft. So you're looking at a double punishment for the same crime. And so even though his lawyer was trying to pull these loopholes, the trial date still ended up getting set. His trial is set for March 24th, 2025 at 9 a.m. So just what, 2 weeks from now? 2-3 weeks? We're gonna see what really happens to Sean Kingston after this case, because he did a lot. And I mean, his background is not it. Think about what this judge thinks when they look into his history and they looking at all the money problems he done had with all these other rappers and jewelers and companies. So I don't think they gonna go light on him, because years of scamming and playing with people's money, you think the judge gonna look at that and be like, you know what, maybe he won't do it again. You know, the judge is gonna look at him and be like, maybe he will do it again. And it's really a wild story from all angles. Will he learn from his mistake, or will he not lock in and keep on stealing? We just gotta wait and see. Something else we gotta wait and see though is what's happening with Lil Baby. 12 trying to put some insane charges on him. 12 are trying to say right now that Lil Baby had something to do with 2 people getting killed in Atlanta. And if you really want to hear more about that story, click the vid on screen right now.